Manchester by the Sea, though. I really gotta live up to that. I want to say thanks to Joel, because this is a really awesome outlet, and he has worked very hard on it. I'm not the one that's nervous, he is. You can see him fidgeting around this whole entire time, but he's excited, and it's really awesome, and it means a lot that he would initially ask me to be on his podcast in the first place, which was at a very different place with wrestling, with life, with work, and things kind of fluctuate. So I'm from Western Mass, technically. I've lived a bunch of different places, moved around a lot as a kid. Grew up with white mother and black father, gone through all kinds of crazy bullshit, just in general, hard life. I'm not even going to stress on the details because we all got hard lives here and there. You go through it, but because of that, you kind of feel like maybe a little bit of an outsider or something like that. A little different from everybody else in some ways. So that is both what has drawn me over the years to professional wrestling and to where this kind of gets funny is like wrestling. I feel a little guilty also comparatively to some of the other Moonlighters here because there's very clear hustle and very clear like business worth ethic involved, and for me with wrestling it's a different story. It's not like that. I am not here to main event WrestleMania. That is the goal for 98% of people that get into wrestling. They are waiting and they are ready and they're like, I'm gonna face The Undertaker next year. Like, it's perfect timing. WrestleMania is this weekend. If you want to watch it, good luck. It's all on you. So when I was younger, my brothers and I, we would sit there and we would watch this, and I have two younger brothers, and there's something about wrestling that just kind of evens things out. I don't know if any of y'all have siblings, but there's like the hierarchy kind of, and I'm the oldest, and it's like, nah, it's my turn to play video games, stuff like that. Wrestling's different because it's really that, watching it is like that island of misfit toys almost for athletes, because it's just, they are on the same level sometimes as like these star, like football or baseball players, basketball players you'd see, but they're just like fucking crazy, some of them. It's just wild, and it's just so, one of my favorite, his name was X-Pac, and when you're 13 and you see somebody just doing this on TV, it's just the greatest thing in the world. It's awesome. How could I not get excited over this, At the same time, my father was working real hard to manage this movie theater, and so I would piggyback with him, drive over and watch movies while he was working on the night shift the entire night. So wrestling and film were both at the same time for me. So when I say that I feel like it's a little bit different from the other Moonlighters, my career has kind of led me to this place where all these things have intertwined. My current day job, I'm a director of digital production. I have an amazing team that I work with. It's like literally the only thing that keeps me going in a world that is like not as creative as I feel like I need. As somebody that went to school for film and, paying for that all by myself, by the way, that's just, that's the reality of it for just about all of us. It sucks, but it's life, right? So you gotta make it happen. But it's led me to this place where I've just met these people and been with this team, but creatively it can be like stifling. Not only that, I'm working a side job online and I've been doing this for 5-6 years now to continue to pay for all this stuff. When I say all this stuff, I mean like food. So my job before getting this job is the #1 online retailer of WWE action figures. So I had forgotten about wrestling, so I kind of grew out of it, just like you grew out of like Power Rangers or whatever. And so I woke up one day and my best friend called me. I was like trying to figure out what I was going to do next after school. I was like, I live in fucking Pittsfield, Massachusetts. There ain't nothing over here for somebody with a film degree. What am I going to do? He said, come down to New York and you can work in the warehouse here at this toy company. So I did. And the toy company said, you know, we see your film degrees, we want to try and take advantage of this and set up an online presence. Now this is before the days of Instagram influences, before the days of all this kind of stuff. It really is kind of like pioneering in terms of what it means to be like an online retailer or have like an online video presence for this company to set this up and offer this to us. So I got online, I put a suit on, I started to do these toy reviews, and I'm in front of the camera like, yeah, let's go, you know, getting like excited. I start to like walk around in places like Toys R Us, and there's like a 10-year-old coming up to me like, it's you, isn't it? I'm like, yeah, it's me. So what? What do you want? You know, but it's cool because there's like kids recognize you. It's a lot of fun. So I always tried to be more creative when we had the company had exclusive action figures made just for the company. So like Target or whatever is never going to have these figures that our company had. So for those videos, I tried to escalate like the comedy and like the filmmaking or whatever you want to think about it. That led to a character that I created called Dramatico. Now, I did this for fun at the time to be like silly, because I was like, have you ever seen, what's the movie with Jason Segel where he's like standing there naked? It's Forgetting Sarah Marshall, he's naked. That was like, when I looked in the mirror, that's what I saw like for a naked body, which is fine. You know, we all got different bodies and shit. For me, it was like this immense ass amount of pressure to think about myself in this situation after sorry, I'm jumping ahead. I made this character up, I put this character on screen, I was like, hey, it'll be funny for me to put on wrestling trunks and go, ugh. And it was funny. And so I made this character that was called Dramatico! And I got in a fight with an action figure and it like took off and people were like, this is awesome. And I was like, yeah, it is awesome, but I feel gross looking at myself on camera because I just don't like it. And like, wow, I did that without thinking about that and how I felt about that real quickly. Maybe I should have backed off a little bit. So I got like a little obsessed over it. I was like, damn, I need to start going to the gym. Like all these people have basically seen me naked suddenly. And so I did. I started to go to the gym. I started to pick it up a little bit. And I was like, you know what? Since I'm doing this and I'm in this position where I know all these people in wrestling, I'm basically like working more or less in the wrestling business. Why don't I try to train in wrestling and like we'll make a documentary out of it and I'll have one match. And so I started to train, and so I was bringing, a friend of mine is a cameraman. We were shooting this documentary, and I'm training, and I'm like, the way that I felt right away, I was like, this is not going to be one match. Like, holy shit! The last time I felt anything even close to this was like Little League baseball, I guess. I never even felt that way. Something about it really clicked with me, both physically and mentally. Wrestling is fucking awesome. It really is. It is like, the United States should feel real good about like the fact that they've given this to the world. This is like performance art. I know this is like the craziest, silliest thing to say, because we're talking about like what we're talking about, but there's so much intricacy that goes into the performance art aspect of what wrestling is. I have always had that respect for it, and I stepped into a whole new level of respect with it and being able to get in the ring and really kind of work through this. I was sweating my ass off. I was doing these like workouts that I had never done before. I started to see like changes in myself that were I had never seen. I had never really like done a push-up up to that point or anything like that. I also started to realize as time went on that it really wasn't about my body. I kind of like didn't give a shit about that. It was just that was the surface level issue of the whole thing. It became about this idea that I wanted to grow this character that I knew I had, that I knew was silly on screen, but is now suddenly this thing that is like I can really get kind of like weird with and cool with, and it was exciting. There's just something about this that I couldn't put my finger on, but I had to keep going. I moved to Boston for a relationship that failed. I struggled to get a job that entire time, and it's part of the reason the relationship failed. I was dealing pretty heavily with a level of anxiety and depression that I had never dealt with before. Or that at least I thought I had never dealt with before. I should probably say that. I didn't get a job. I finally, after like 8 or 9 months and this relationship ending, was just stuck with basically nothing, like sleeping in my car for a couple weeks. Like, where the fuck do I go? You know, I was like too much selfish pride to go back to my parents' house. And I finally got a job. It worked out. I was continuing to do this side job, so now suddenly I've got 2 jobs. Now suddenly I have time to go and train and wrestle. So I started at a school called NYWC, which is in New York. First of all, there's training facilities all over the place, and there are some real bad ones, but there are some great ones. And I've been lucky enough that I've been in real close proximity to some of the best ones, not only in the country, but in the world, with some really awesome people behind them. I thought you were singing. Nah, he was just going like this. So I've been real lucky to have access to these wrestling schools. When I came here, it kind of reset it a little bit. So I had all this like notoriety from that wrestling toy company because I was on this YouTube channel. And again, this is before the days of influencers and shit like that. So basically what I was told was like, hey, you know, it's not about you, like it's not your persona on screen. Maybe not like as angry as that, but it was very clear that like, and I knew this because it was my job, right? I wasn't meant to be like advertising myself. 40 million views on this YouTube channel. And all these people, again, like basically see me half, like almost naked and really kind of accessing this this crowd or this like demographic, I guess, that I was really connecting with them, you know? There's typical wrestling fans, and this was just like a little bit different. So I'm starting to train again, and I'm living in Boston or Watertown, wherever I was, and I'm starting to really like catch on to this. Like, holy shit! Like, this is I was not a athletic guy in the beginning. I was not. I still got my issues with this, even training now. There's a move called the arm drag. And arm drag is a really flashy, awesome, I shouldn't even be like giving away the secrets or whatever, but it's basically the kind of the illusion of being thrown, and you jump over somebody to make it work. I should be using wrestling terms, but I won't. I'm just gonna speed through that. I'm doing this move called the arm drag, and there's people saying to me, "You look like a dolphin doing that. That's crazy. Do that again." And I'm just like flying through the air, like. I never thought I could do anything like this. Like this is probably to this day, that's probably the most athletic like I'll ever be in my life was that day that I'm flying through the air on this arm drag. My trainer says to me, do it again, I want to show somebody else. So I go to do it one more time. I go to take this arm drag or whatever. Something went wrong. I went straight over and I just slammed like head, shoulder first, and then that broke my collarbone. I like straight up. And I rolled over and I sat up and I said, I think I broke my fucking collarbone. And I was right up. And there it is. It's not sticking out of my skin or anything gross like that, but it's like pointing up. And so I'm just suddenly stuck. Here I am. I get brought to the emergency room. I go back. Everybody at the school is like, well, we're going home. I got no family here. I got no relationship, like nothing. And so I'm like, okay. So I drove myself home in my stick shift with one arm. I crawled up the stairs. I sat in bed until it was like time to go to the doctor. And I went to the doctor the next day. He's like, you need surgery. So I got surgery. And I have I was lucky enough that like, you can kind of hide this shit under your health insurance when you have a full-time job. So I got a plate and 8 screws. Long story short, I've had that's like the maybe like the lowest point, right? That's like the scary lowest point. I've had battles with this shit ever since. Wrestling comes in and out of like frequency for me and in and out of like difficulty for me. It is hard. It is a hard endeavor. It's hard to really commit to it. It really is. And you know, I'm gonna skip like a bunch of details with it because I just want to get to the core of it. But I think is that anxiety and depression I was talking about, I still face that all the time. And for me to openly admit that, I think is like a really key important thing. And I'm trying to work through that. I'm still gonna try to work through that. You can't let that shit ruin your relationships. You can't. You have to push past that, and you have to continue to do that. I just started. I took a 2-year hiatus because of this with wrestling. I just started to take, you know, 5 steps forward, and something puts you 10 steps back. That's the life we live, right? Saved up, bought a camera, worked through all this stuff. Filmmaking and I know I focused on wrestling, but filmmaking is like that's honestly like the core passion of this for me. I just started a YouTube channel where I can kind of shoot some of this wrestling stuff and put it on video. I'm gonna have to rebuild from scratch, like all that 40 million stuff is gone, you know? And it's okay, because the core of this is like, I'm gonna do I'm gonna say what I wanna say through this, and that's what we should all be doing. I really think like, it's important to help each other with this. If you've ever like stepped on somebody's neck to get somewhere, I don't want nothing to do with it. I've never done that. We should all be supporting each other with this stuff. So thanks again to Joel for having me, and I think we should keep it going.